I have 4:30 called this meeting of August 31st, 2020 of the Finance Committee meeting to order. A little bit different, so I guess bear with us as we go along.
Everybody doesn't have the minutes. It's on electronically, and that would be Dr. Chris Causey and Delvin. I could either send them to you or in the minutes we got last week where it says it was moved by Delvin, second by Chris Causey, to accept bid number 1435 for the Infinity Pipeline, the drainage maintenance project for solid waste, and y'all voted yay. Glenn both said he wanted to be transparent, and he informed the committee about the tin blowing off the roof at solid waste facility. The tin being blown off the roof was wind damage. During the insurance inspection, they discovered rust on some of the beams. The insurance company agreed to pay a total of $13,500 for the wind damage, and the county will need to pay the $14,000 for the rusted beams. This amount includes the $2,500 deductible. Everyone was informed that there's a balanced budget amendment to be presented to the budget committee at their March meeting in the amount of $27,500. I know that was done, and I just signed a purchase order for that within the last day. It says there was some discussion concerning the next finance committee meeting being changed. Okay. And here we are. It was supposed to be the 24th, and we had to make it today because it didn't get advertised to be electronic or advertised going out normally. So that's what the minutes say, y'all.
Any corrections, deletions, additions to the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the minutes as read and as presented.
Commissioner Hogan moves that we accept the minutes as read and as presented.
I'll second.
Commissioner North seconds. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried unanimous.
Okay.
Like we normally do, I guess.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is bid number 1433. It's the serving line at East Robertson High School. Let's see if you've got your packets there. We had 9 bidders. So that's means we're getting some pretty good prices getting all these bidders. Do you want to talk about it, Dr. Causey?
Yes, ma'am, we can. You are correct. I was going to let everybody know we did have 9, and it looks like we've got some pretty good prices. The recommendation is strategic equipment, which is the lowest bid. I tell you, a lot of people have asked about serving lines, but when you do go through one of our lines, all of the wells that keep our pans warm and all of those things, these are lines that have been in our school for about 35 to 40 years. It's about fine time we got some new ones, and this is going to give us the opportunity to expand and maybe do a little bit better for these kids at these 2 schools. So it's actually the same vendor being requested or being recommended on both of these at both East Robertson High School and Greenboro High School, and those are the recommendations for both of those bids. I don't know if anybody wants to vote on them separately, but I would ask that we vote on them together.
Okay, we're good with doing that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, was that in form of a motion from Dr. Causey? Dr. Causey, you giving that as a motion?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I second that motion,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Commissioner Hogan seconds it. All right. All in favor of voting on them together, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're unanimous. All right.
Now, Mr. Chairman, did we just vote on accepting them to be voted on together?
Yes, that was on Dr. Causey's motion.
Okay.
All right. Now we're ready to talk about the bids themselves. We'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept, he said, what was it, strategic equipment,
Yes, the low.
the low bid. If Dr. Collins is good with it, I'll make a motion we
Okay,
go forward.
Commissioner Norris moves that we accept those 2 bids, strategic equipment.
And I second that motion.
Commissioner Hogan second. Do we have any discussion? Guess I have a question. as far as the dollar amount on them, how close to that, what you had budgeted for them, Dr. Cobb?
Budgeted, we're good. This is actually school nutrition, funds, and we've had these funds available for quite a while now, so we're good.
Okay, all right.
Great job.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you, sir.
So y'all are doing two motions for me. You did a motion to vote on them together. Okay, and then now I've got a motion from Bubba Doris and Bob Hogan. And now this is a motion to accept both of them together.
That is correct.
That's correct.
All right. Any
Question?
further discussion? I have a question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Motion
you.
carried unanimous. All
Thank
right.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, the next item, y'all, is bid number 1436, the animal control facility. And we did good on that one with getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bidders. But unfortunately, it came in way over budget. Don't know if you might want Trey to discuss this with y'all. It appears possibly that CSR Engineering, when he went ahead and thought that this is what we needed to budget for the item, it may have been off. Do you want to interject on that, Trey, please?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Of course, on Thursday, March 12th, we received and opened bids for this project. We received 6 bids, 4 of which I would consider to be competitive. 2 of those I would consider to be outliers. They were pretty high. They probably didn't even want to get the project, just thought if they could get it at a high price, it'd be a good deal for them. But of the 4 competitive bids, the average of those is about $724,000. I did some research since the bid opening and talked to a couple of different consulting firms, not the original designers, did not tell them the bids we got and had them budgeted. And both of them came up with about the same budget figure. Based on the plans that we have, they said a good budget would have been $725 to $775, probably $750,000. There's 3,543 square feet. Both of those firms I talked to used $175 a square foot for the building, which gets you about $620,000 or so, and then the site works about $125, so therefore the $750. CSR had, like $134 to $140 budgeted for the entire project, site work and buildings. One thing that I would be willing to do if you do not want to accept these bids, and I would understand being $175,000 over budget, I would be willing to take the plans and get with a firm and get a proposal. It would not cost us anything to get in a proposal for them to look at and see what they could do with revising the design and optimizing it and see what we could do within budget. That would, I could get a proposal, come back in a month, and then it would take them 2 or 3 months probably from there. So it would get you to June, July, and then you could look at it again, decide if you wanted to rebid it at that time, and Mike could still get it mostly built this year, at least dried in, and finish up some interior work in the winter of 20 to 21. But I would entertain any questions that you have or concerns you might have with the bid or with what I've just reviewed with you.
So animal control basically approved the low bid, but it has to be up to finance to approve the low bid. And then, of course, it would have to go to budget and then back to the full commission if you guys went on with this. But you need to decide if you want to table it or.
With what we know right now and with the budget coming up,
We need to table this motion.
do I hear that?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table and give Trey an opportunity to look at this procedure in the future and see what we can save. I think even the low bid is outrageous with what we need to do. And because it's a table motion, I guess I've said more than I should, but I do believe that'll give us some time. So I move to table this motion at the moment.
Motion by Commissioner Hogan to table the bid, I guess. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Doris. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, you can't discuss a table motion. You have to vote on it.
Okay, all right. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So all in favor of tabling.
Yes, unanimous.
What did I hear, Mr. Chairman? I thought it was a split house. Did I hear somebody say no?
Did somebody say no? I thought he said aye.
Okay. I just want to make that clear.
Pretty sure it was unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, did we have an aye,
No.
a nay out there? No,
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I agree. Retract my
Okay.
comments.
All right.
I might make a comment on this because when I talked to Commissioner Eric Roberts earlier, he's under the impression that the full 500,000 that was borrowed is available. And historically, that's not the way these projects work. We usually borrow the funds and then they end up paying your architect. So I believe the architect on this was pretty close to around 40,000. I went ahead and looked in there and there was about $467,000 left in that project. But we also have $10,000 left from a project that was 171 when we did the elevators. And there's some funds that might be left over when we do the Tennessee Department of Safety building. We had opted to budget 70,000. So basically, I think if we go to budget and we ask budget, if you all could use those funds, kind of like we did last year for the school system on the Coopertown Elementary project, you all would have your 500,000.
Still have that 500.
You'd still have right at about 500,000, maybe a little more, but I feel sure you'd have your 500.
Okay.
I think that needed to be said because when I was talking to Eric, he was under the impression that he did have all the 500. If we make a few moves, you guys will have it.
Okay.
So, and
That money has not been borrowed at this time.
what?
The 500,000.
Yes, it is. It's sitting there.
Okay, it is.
It's sitting there, and we've paid, I think 34,000 or something like that out to CSR Engineering.
Okay.
For doing the plans and all.
All right.
So the last item on here, do you want to go ahead, Delvin, for your RS2 sealant, bid number 1439?
Yes, ma'am. This is the same two companies that bid every year. Marathon is low bid. That's the ones we've been going with for a long time. This year we done slow set too, which we haven't been doing, just to get a bid where we wouldn't have to order it just a small amounts at a time. But the Highway Commission voted on Marathon as being low bid on this.
Okay. And you're recommending we go with Marathon?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion.
Okay. Did Dr. Cosby make the
Yes,
motion
sir.
that we go with Marathon? Do we have a second?
Yes, sir.
Second.
And second by Commissioner Doris. Discussion? Ready for question?
Question.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, y'all.
Unanimous again.
Y'all very good. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I do want to inform my finance committee about a call that I received from the comptroller last Thursday. So, been here 28 years, and of course, we've never had anything like this happen where we've got the COVID-19 and, this crisis going on. So the comptroller's office tells me they have called every county in the state of Tennessee, and they have made a couple of recommendations. And my budget committee and budget committee chairman and budget committee and the mayor have requested that I call all the department heads, which at this point in time I have talked to all of the department heads. Health department, not so much so, she's on a DGA contract. But basically what they're requesting is that your budget for your 21 budget be passed on June 30th. We've got it scheduled that June 22nd, a special meeting will be called, and it won't be that hard to pass a budget because they want us to pass them flat. They've told me that there will be no growth on there for your sales tax, and they don't really think there's any growth on there for your property tax. There's even concern that we will be able to collect all that because of people possibly not being able to pay their property taxes. So, been listening to some webinars already, and I feel like we're ahead of it because all the department heads have also been asked to pretty much, well, stop spending or slow your spending basically just for essentials between now and June 30. So the only one that I have not had a chance to say anything to would be the school system, and theirs is very unique and different. Dr. Chris Causey, I did finally get a call back from Mary Ann Dursky today. She said that she did not know, I guess this happens sometimes, she said she was not informed by the comptroller. I told her Steve Osborne was the one myself and Keith Hoover talked to. But after we got off the phone today, she was going to check this out. They had not told State Department of Education about passing the budget and passing them flat. Because as you know, she tells me there's a state statute that anytime you guys they give you your funding, it has to show an increase in your salary from one year to the next. You're aware of that, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And I'll tell you, I caught this from Hickman County yesterday via text. Their director sent me a text and told me that the comptroller had contacted them as well. And so I appreciate you reaching out to Mary Ann because, you know, our conversation really was about BEP estimates. And we won't see the first one of those until April. And you and I both know that sometimes that number's pretty way off. But at the same time, I've already talked to our data folks about getting that estimate as close to possible because that may be where we have to work our budget from if we're talking about passing it in June.
Yes,
But I mean,
Mary Ann.
we'll get it done. But like I said, Mary Ann hadn't reached out to us just yet, so she must still be waiting on some information from the
They
comptroller.
are. They're trying to get, she's got two other things. She says they've got a question about maintenance of effort and a 3% fund balance. She's kind of not in favor of changing those, but they do see that possibly on the salary thing, they might go on ahead with the test they have on the salary where they may allow possibly to decrease something and increase the salary, or they may waive it. But more than likely, what she said was, as she thought, I told her we were going to pass it on June 22nd. She thought that our numbers, our good April, May, and June numbers would be in, and that should be a goodly sum. So if we had to change your number the night they voted on it at the county commission floor on June 22nd, we could. But yes, she said your final numbers would not be here until July.
Okay.
So they are working on that. I guess, you know, as you got the email that came out, they're really more right now about y'all trying to get the kids fed and how to get the kids taught and all that sort of stuff. She said that was y'all's number one concern.
Well, we knew when the governor had already cut the BEP funds in half as far as that 4% increase that he was going to give us, already got dwindled down to 2%, but we didn't know if it was going to get dwindled down more, and it sounds like it is.
She led me to believe that your BEP funding was not going to be cut. She said something about maybe she would have some numbers by next Wednesday or Thursday if you wanted to contact her.
Okay, yeah, we'll stay on top of it.
Okay, if you need anything from me on that, let me know.
Does that mean, are we talking about, you said June 22nd, that's a commission meeting. So when am I presenting now to, that's going to change the whole schedule. So when do you look at me presenting that to the budget committee?
I haven't worked it out yet, and there is a budget meeting next Tuesday on the 7th.
Right.
The way it works, I have to get it to the paper. You know, we've got to cut everything off like about the middle of May. So I don't know if you wanted to try to inform your school board if their April meeting that, you know, we're trying to get some things in order, and maybe for sure no later than your May meeting so you could bring it to the budget committee.
And we've already had a budget discussion, but we really haven't had any, laid out there like we've done. But we will schedule that relatively soon.
When's your May meeting for your school board?
Right.
The second Monday? Okay. so-
Yes, ma'am. Oh, were you asking me when it was? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I can get that date for you relatively quickly.
Let's see.
Should be the second Monday, Doc,
It's the 11th.
11th.
Okay, that will give me something to go by next week. I mean, yeah, when I talk to them, I'll tell them that your meeting is May the 11th. I'm sure they're probably gonna have to talk to you pretty shortly after that, get some final numbers. Why don't just talking kind of, in generalities, try to see what we can do about y'all finalizing something on May 11th.
Okay.
And they're telling me on the sales tax is flat, so it's gonna be the same 13.5. I've got Chris Trauber getting me information from the assessor. I'm really not wanting to back down off the 172,000, but I don't, wanna think we're gonna get the funding and then we not get it, so. Still need to do some more research and estimates and looking at those numbers before we make some decisions on that.
Okay. All right. Anything further we need to discuss? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
I
all in
second it.
favor?
I second it. Let's
Good
go.
meeting, y'all.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Doc. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Really good.
Yeah, good.
Very good.